Okay, good morning. It's January 13th, year 2026, or Chaf Dalid Teves, the year Tafshin Pei Vav. I'm making up the dafn that I missed, the Ptira of my mother, Esther Bashlem Zalman Halevi, and learning Ilul Nishmasa. In addition, we're learning today Ilul Nishmas Shlomo ben Moshe, unfortunately an individual who never was able to get married, but who was a very fine person who would never miss a minyan and always was there to do the right thing. So we're learning Ilul Nishmas Shlomo ben Moshe. Okay, Daf Mem is really a continuation of Daf Lamed Tes. So let's go back to Lamed Tes to see the bottom. Now the pasuk says by the par Helam Davar Shel Tziba. In the parsha of Vayikra Dalid, you have the par of Kohen Mashiach is first, then par Helam David, and Nasi, and then the regular Chatas. So by the pasuk says Va'asala par, you should do to this par, meaning to the par Helam Davar, Kashrasala par Chatas, like you did to the Kohen Mashiach. Kenya Asalo, you should do to it. V'chipar aleim hakayim v'nislach lahem. So we darshan v'asa kasha asa, and you should do to this part like you did to that part. It's doubled up, just like there was the seven. You sprinkled seven times a curtain in front of the proiches by the Kohen Mashiach. So too, you should do what by the by the Helen Dover. And why is it repeated? It's to teach me that what it's ma'akiv. If you don't do it, it's ma'akiv the carbon. The carbon will not be accepted. If you're missing one of them, it's ma'akiv. Okay, that I would think only is the seven hazois, but it would not include the four daubings on the mizbeach hazov. On that it says tamalem kenyi asa. Kenyi asa. The Gemara is going to ask, why can't you learn out from the same source? It says asa kasha asa. It's doubled up. So just like by the par Kohen Mashiach, there was four on the Mizbeach Hatzov, so too over here. Why do you have to bring Kenyasa a second pasuk? The pasuk continue Lepar. Say Par Yom Kippurim. When it says Lepar, it means Lepar Yom HaKippurim. Okay, so going back over that beginning on Mem Omamar, going back over the Brisa, Ein Li Elamatad Sheva. I would say that if the only things that Ma'akiv is the seven Hazois on the Proches, but not the four on the Mizbeach. Sheva ma'akos b'chol makam hecha. Where do you find other seven sprinklings that are ma'akiv? So Rapapa b'para. By the para aduma, they sprinkle the dam from Hara Mishcha seven times towards the oil mayed. Ubinagayim, you find by the asham of the Mitzoira, they took the loig shem and they sprinkled the oil seven times. So just like over there, it's ma'akiv. I'd say over here it's ma'akiv. Okay, by Mashen came the other four, then not. Tamad lema kenyi yaseh. Matan Abba Minayin, Tamala Miken Yaseh. Fred the Gemara, Maishna Matan Zayin, the Ksiva of Kfilin. The Zayin, it was written and was repeated, Asa Kasha Asa. Matan Dabanami Ksiva Kfilin. So you could learn that from Asa Kasha Asa. Why was necessary the pasuk of Kenyi Asa to teach me that it's Ma'akiv, the four matanis on Mizbeach Hasav would be Ma'akiv. Rav Yirmiyah says Rav Yirmiyah, Nitzcha El Rav Shimon. We need the pasuk kenyasa only according to Rav Shimon that you could not learn out from the Kohen Mashiach Helen Dover because it doesn't say four by the Kohen Mashiach. It only says two. Since it only says two by the Kohen Mashiach and two by the Helen Dover, you would not know from Asa Kasha Asa the Hekesh. You'd have to come on to kenyasa, and that's the reason. The Tanya, Lamailo Oima Keren Kronos, it says Kronos, Shtayim. Lamatu Oima could say Keren, it says Kronos. Arba, Divriv Shimon. So the Hekesh would only give you two. Two to two is four, so you wouldn't know what that four is Ma'akiv. Tamad Laima Kenya Yaseh. If you do it's not necessary. You would know it's Ma'akiv even without the Kenya Yaseh. Why? In Itzarach Harioim, it says by the Mizbeach Asher Pesach Oil Ma'ed. It says that's by Oil Ma'ed. So once it says Oil Ma'ed, I know I'll call Ma'oime by Oil Ma'ed. And everything that's said by Oil Ma'ed, meaning all four chronos. It's Moel Moed, it's what Kronos, so you wouldn't think two and two. So Mamela, he doesn't need Kenyasa. He learns it out from the fact that it's a Mizbeach that's in the oil Moed. I know anything that's done in the oil Moed, the four Kronos is Ma'akiv. So now Rabbi Yehuda is going to, the Kenyasa is extra according to Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda Kenyasa Mayavid. What does he do with the Kenyasa? Since God, he knows that he says from the Mizbeach that's in the oil Moed. So therefore he learns the Kronos from there. So why do you need the Kenyasa to teach me Kronos is Ma'akiv? There's no limit for the power of Yom Kippur regarding smicha, putting the hands on it, and throwing the shirayim out. Minayin, how do you know there's a din of smicha shirayim? Tamalayma kenya yasa, right? Kenya Yasa. So too you should do. So we learn out from Helem Dover just like this. You have Smicha and Shirayim, that's Ma'akiv. So too L'choy over here, you have Smicha and Shirayim. So that L'choyra, it's Ma'akiv, I think so. But it's not that Ma'akiv, just that they exist. That you, by Yom Kippur you'll need Smicha and you would need the Shricha Shirayim just like you did by the Helem Dover. Okay. Now it says Lepar. It says the Par Yom Kippur the Madnu. You don't know Par Yom Kippur. You said Lepar is Yom Kippur. Again, going back to the pasuk. V'asa kasher asa Lepar zeb Kai Mashiach hachatas elusir. So we said that when it said Tamalim became Yasa Lepar. When it says Lepar is the Par Yom Kippurim. So Lechaira, it's already you said without the. You don't need the Kenya Asa to teach me that because it says Lepar means par is Yom Kippur. So when Mele, it's in the pasuk itself. So why do you have to learn the Hekesh Kenya Yasa if it says Lepar is par Yom Kippur? It says Gemara Itzrich. You still need the Kenya Yasa. Salkadech Amin and Hani Mili. What would I say from Lepar? I would say avoided Ma'akva Kapara. Avoid the Ma'akva Kapara. That would be learned out from Helem Dover. I will avoid the delay ma'akiv kapara a malay, but avoid it. That's not ma'akiv kapara, like smicha and shvicha shirayim. That's not ma'akiv the kapara. Since it's not ma'akiv the kapara, I would say it's unnecessary. Kamashmon kenya yasa to teach me that you need require smicha even though it's not ma'akiv, and shvicha shirayim even though it's not ma'akiv. We learn out from par Helem Dover to what kenya yasa to par Yom Kippur. Reb Shimon, who learns out the Kenya Yasa to teach me that the four matanos are ma'akiv by the Arin, right? High oil moed ma'avilei. Why does he do with Rabbi Yehuda's raya? Rabbi Yehuda said once you have the mizbeach of that's in the oil moed, anything that's in the oil moed and the four chronos would be ma'akiv. Why does he do with that? Since he learns that from Kenya Yasa, ma'avilei says the Gemara. The oil moed be boilei. Shem nifchasa tikra shel heichel. If the heichel goes ahead and the roof breaks. And now it's not an oil. If the roof breaks, now it's not an oil, right? Yeah, you can't go ahead and do the hazah on the proiches. V'idach and the other v'idach and Rabbi Yehuda. Where does Rabbi Yehuda know that the oil moed has to be intact since he uses the oil moed to teach me that the four matanis is ma'akiv? So the pasuk says, "Umin adam yitain al karnas mizbeach." The dom you should put on karnas mizbeach. Asher lefnei Hashem. That's the mizbeach azov. Asher ba'oil moed. So it says Asher lefnei Hashem. Asher ba'oil moed. What's the Asher? So that on the Gemara tells us Rabbi Yehuda uses the Asher. The idach me Asher. Right? He learns it from Asher to teach me that if the room's it's not an oil Asher ba'oil moed. That if it's not an oil moed, it's not the hazaz will not be able to be functional because there's no roof. V'idach and Rav Shimon Asher loy darishla. He doesn't have the drasha of Asher. He does not have the drasha of Asher. Abaya Amar Rabbi Yehuda Nami Yitzrich. Rabbi Yehuda also needs Kenya Asa. Sakadat. I would have thought if you just said Asa Kasha Asa, Midi Havi Asmicha V'Shirei Adon. I would have said the matan 4 on the Mizbeach Hazov is the same as Smicha V'Shirayim, and right. The afagav diksivan b'kfilon, even though it's stated by both, even though it's stated and it's repeated, nonetheless loima akiv. So I would say matan arba nami, even though matan arba is stated and repeated according to vasakasha also according to Rabbi Yehuda. I would say also similar to smichin shirayim, which is not ma'akiv. The four matanas are also not ma'akiv, like the sakiv kamash malon. Therefore it says what? Therefore it says kenya aseh that it is ma'akiv, that it's ma'akiv. Going back to the pasuk, it said lepar zeh par Yom Kippurim. Again, the pasuk says the asa kasha, the asa lepar kasha asa lepar hachatos, and so we learning out can you asa lepar zeh par Yom Kippurim? So for asa lepar kasha asa lepar hachatos, you should do to the par Helem Dover like you do to the par Kai Mashiach. Can you asa loy v'chipra alei yam hachatos v'nisach. So when it says lepar. It says we dash lepar means lepar Yom Kippurim. Okay, we said lepar Yom Kippurim. Now, what halacha are we learning over here? We have the hekesh, we have the Kenya Yasa. All the halachas that you could possibly learn from Helem Dover are learned already. So, what's lepar Yom Kippurim? Linyan, what halacha are you including it? Says the Gemara. Lepar Yom Kippurim l'may hilchasa il akiv. If it's that the hazos ama akiv pshita, I don't need an external source to teach me that. Chuka ksiva. it says chuka by v'hayazois lahem lechuka soilam lechapra b'nei Yisrael b'kol chatasam asher b'shana vayas kasher tziva Hashem es Moshe. So it says chuka. So chuka is ma'akiv. So memela, I don't need just like to tell me the hazah is ma'akiv by kelim davar. So too it's ma'akiv by Yom Kippur. I know independently within Yom Kippur itself it says the word chuka. So therefore it has to be hazah daf zayin, and therefore what it's ma'akiv. Rav Nachman by Yitzchak said Rav Nachman is loy nitzcha. I still need what? I need this lepara to teach me Yom Kippur. Linyan what halacha? El Rabbi Yehuda. I need lepara Yom Kippur Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda is of the opinion, fellas, there was two avodas. You wore the avodah big day zahav for the avodas hayom, and for the avodah Yom Kippur you wore the big day lavan, the 4 big day lavan that was unique to Yom Gadol and Yom Kippur. However, there was a distinction between the avodah that was done lifnim, means inside lifnai lifnim, the kodesh kodashim, and then chukah goes on that, and Masha'en came on the avodah that was done in the kodesh, in the heichal, right? Chukah does not go on that. Memela, what would I say? The Zion, the 8 hazars, achas shalamata, that takes place inside Zichem Ma'akiv. And if you go ahead and do the ordering correctly, if you did the Seir before the par, it's Ma'akiv, because it says Chuk on that. But regarding outside, Seder is not Ma'akiv. If you'd switch it, it'd be okay. I might think if you don't do it, it also would be okay. Therefore, you need the lepar in the pasuk of Helam Dava to teach me, no, it's not okay. It's Ma'akiv. Afilu on the dam that's done behechel. Let's see it inside. This is like Nitzcha El Rabbi Yehuda. The Amar Kik Siva Chuka, where this says Chuka at the Varam Manasim, big they love them bifnim. It's only one going on that's done inside the Kodesh Kodashim. Shem Higdim Ma'aseh L'Chavero, if you do Seir before Par, L'Yosef L'Klum. Abel the Varam Manasim, the big day love them b'chutz. The big day love on Yom Kippur, that was done in the Heichel before the Proiches. Higdim Ma'aseh L'Chavero, I would think Masha Os, since if you do out of order, it works. Masha Osa Osli. Ema Midika Sidron Le Ma'akiv. Hazos Nami Le Ma'akiv, the Seder is not Ma'akiv, even the Hazos not Ma'akiv. Kamash Malon, the limud from Helam Davar, right? That Zepha Yom Kippur, that Yom Kippur teaches me that what within the, just like Helam Davar is what is Ma'akiv, who I did what Yom Kippur, the Hazos that are done Bachutz on Ma'akiv. Maskal Rapapa, Umi Motzes Amid Hachi, says a Papa, is it possible to go ahead and say that according to Rabbi Yehuda, Ikuva, that you learn at the Ikuv from the par that says by the Parsha of Helam Davar? That's where you learn it from? You learn it within the Parsha of Yom Kippur itself. I don't need the par of Helam Davar to teach me that what? That it's the Zion or not Ma'akiv. I know that itself. The Pasuk says, V'chilim chaper es ha-kodesh, V'chila, and he'll complete Mechaper es ha-kodesh, from doing the kapara of kodesh, ves oil moyed, ves hamizbeach, v'hikar ves ha-sorachai, and then he'll bring what? He'll bring the sar once he does that. Now, mechaper usually means avodas adam, So, which point in time is mechaper? Says umi mot samanach v'tanya v'chila mechaper es ha-kodesh im kiper. So Rabbi Akiva is going to switch the order around. Im kiper, if he goes ahead and he does the kapara, kila, then he's finished, right? And then he can go ahead and bring the sarachai. Vim loy kiper, and if he doesn't do this rikas adam, right? Let's say he doesn't do the dam on the matnas on the sheva inside or matan dam, then kila. Even though, in other words, he finished sprinkling the dam, even though he didn't throw down the aside, then he can go ahead and do the serachai. Right. So in other words, im kiper, once he does that the avodah of the par, then he can go ahead and do the avodah of the seir. But he has to, he has to spritz it. And kipa kila, like kipa like kila. Did Rebbe Kiva? I'm Rebbe Yehuda. Maloi nemar and kila kiper. From like kila like kiper. So why did you switch around the order? It says vim kila, if you finish it, kiper, meaning finish it, even if you do the shirayim. The chila, you'd have to finish everything, not only the hazah, you'd have to finish even the shvichas hashirayim. So therefore, what do you see from here? What do you see from here? So how can you entertain that according to Rabbi Yehuda, you learn out from Yom Kippur in the Hekesh to Helam Davar that it's Ma'akiv? You learn out from Yom Kippur itself that it's ma'akiv. Because why? Because you didn't finish the job. Menkila. So in Kila Kiper, if I feel shvicha shirayim. So that's the way you learn out that everything is ma'akiv. Not from the hekesh of Kiper to what lepar. So therefore, what is that purpose again? Going back to the original question, when it said lepar in the pasuk of Helam Dover, lepar Yom Kippur, what's it coming to teach me? It can't come to teach me that it's ma'akiv. It can't come to teach me that it's ma'akiv, because that I know from what? That I know from Mechila V'Chiper. Says the Amrav Papa, Lo Nischa Ella, for three halachas, La'es, Dam, Utfila. There's three halachas that it says by Kohen Mashiach. We learn at the Helam Dover, and Memela, I'm going to learn it out to Yom Kippur. What does the pasuk say? The Tovel Kohen es boy badam. The Tovel es Kohen es boy badam. So S is going to teach me that even if he has a blister on his finger, it's not ma'akiv. You can do it. And Taval, he has to be Badom. You have to have the shear of Tefillah. But Taval, you have to have the shear of Tefillah there. And Badom is going to teach me you have to dip it. No, but Taval, we'll see in a second. But Taval, you dip it in, and one you can't go ahead and wipe it and get it, but you have to dip it in. So those are three halachas that we're going to learn from Helam Dover to Yom Kippur. Amra Papa Israel es dam v'tefillah es. Amra Vachabar Yitzchak Nitzucha Amid Beis lahachshir Amin. Shebe etzba. If you have an amin, if you have a yabelis, you have a type of blister on your finger, it's okay. Sheyehei badam, sheyehei badam shir tefillah, right? Meikara, that you have to have the shear of dam tefillah meikara. The taval, you have to dip in. V'lei misapeg. You can't go. So you have to dip in rather than wipe it off the wall. You have to dip it in the blood. If it's on the wall, wipe it off. That you can't do. So those three halachas, es v'dam, the blister, the shear of dam of badam, and tefillah, to tell me that you have to be toivel, not misapeg, and not that I'm going to learn out liyom kippur. So when it says, when the pasuk says, v'asa kasha asa lapar, and it says, can you asa lapar? Zel Payim Kippur, according to Rav Papa, Zel Payim Kippur is to teach me that what the whole three halachas of you have to have, even if you have a blister, you have to have the share of the dam, and you have to be tefillah. That I'm learning out Yom Kippur, that I'm learning out from Helam Dover. And Helam Dover, Gufa, I'm learning out from Kohen Mashiach. Itzterich. And you have to write the Badam, and you have to write B'Taval. It's Michlam Badam, because Rachmana B'Taval. Havamina, Afagal Doleka Shir, Tefillah, Meikara. Even if you don't have the Shir of Tefillah Meikara, because Rachmana Badam. It has to be Badam. Because Rachmana Badam, Havamina, Afil Mesapeg. Even if you wipe it off, because Rachmana B'Tabel, you have to dip it in. Now the pasuk had said, Adam Yitin Al Karnas Mizbeach Hashel Pnei Hashem Hasheva Oil Moed, and it says the lashon of it. It says V'nasan HaKoyim and Adam Al Karnas Mizbach K'Toras Hasamim L'Hashem. Vayikra Dalet Zayin. In the Parsha Koyim Mashiach, it says V'nasan HaKoyim and Adam Al Karnas Mizbach K'Toras Hasamim. Why does it have to say Mizbach K'Toras Hasamim? Once it says L'Fnei Hashem B'Oel Moed, and maybe I know if it's L'Fnei Hashem B'Oel Moed, it's got to be Mizbeach Hazov. And Mizbeach Hazov is the Mizbeach that they burn the K'Toras every day. So why is it necessary to say Mizbach K'Toras Hasamim? What are you learning out from there? Okay, what's that coming to teach me? Mizbach K'Toras Samim Lamali Shem Loy Nischani Chamizbeach B'K'Toras Hasamim Loy Hoya Maza. Let's say you had a Helam Dover and you had a brand new Mizbeach, and Mizbeach had not Nischanich yet. You have never burnt yet on it K'Toras. Then you would not do the Hazah. It has to be Mizbach K'Toras Samim, one that already you had burned the Mizbach Samim, you had burned the K'Toras on it. Then you can do the Hazah. But until you go ahead and burn Ketaires, at that point in time, you would not be able to. If it's brand new, you won't be able to do the Hazah. That's the halacha I learned from it. So to summarize, we have two limudim, one from Rav Nachman Yitzchak, one to Rav Papa, as to what, when it says in the parsha of Helam Dov, it says Lepar, Par Yom Kippurim. Like Rav Nachman Yitzchak is to teach me that what I would think that chuk is only going on what you did inside the Kodesh Kodashim. But when you did that outside the Kodesh Kodashim, I would say when Seder is not ma'akiv hazah, is not ma'akiv kamash malon, that just like Helam Dov it's ma'akiv hazah, so too by Yom Kippur it's ma'akiv hazah. Like Rav Papa, I don't need it for that. It says v'chilim mechaper, so therefore I know that Adif Shrayim's makif certainly Azaz makif. And so therefore, why does it coming to teach me this dinyan to Helam Dover? It's dinyan three halachas. Es taval badam. Es that it has to be what even if you have a blister. But badam you have to have the sheer dam. V'tavel you have to go be tovel v'lem esapik. That's what Reb Papa came to teach me from the hekesh of par in the parsha of Helam Dover. Tanya kavose the Reb Papa. We have a bison to Reb Papa's pshat. And not Rav Nachman Yitzchak pshat that it's going on the avodah that was done outside to go ahead and be machshir that. Wait, we stand the kavase Rav Papa the asa kasha asa matam aloim lepar the rabbis par yom kippurim l'chol ma sha'ama be'inyan. Everything it says there in the inyan, which means it says even though it says does the opening we learn that from Kol Mashiach es v'dam par. So that's the raya to what to Rav Papa. Now Rabbi Shmuel is going to say you don't need lepar to teach me es tov v'dam. I can learn that out of a Kal V'chomer. So we're going to have a cryptic Kal V'chomer now, and then the Gemara will go over and explain it. We're going to have a cryptic Kal V'chomer, and the Gemara now will go and explain it. Okay. Omer Rabbi Shmuel, Kal V'chomer. It's the Kal V'chomer that es v'dam, and taval. You could learn out if you can learn out from Helam Dover to Koyin Yom Kippur. Helam Dover to Yom Kippur, and Memela, I don't need the hekesh for that. That's what he's questioning the limud. Uma b'makom shloi hush v'karbon l'karbon. But again, we'll see in a second what this means. In a place where they didn't equate a carbon to a carbon, meaning they're not the same species. Hish v'maseim l'maseim, their avodah was the same. Makom shehush v'karbon l'karbon. In a place where the carbon is the same, the power of Yom Kippur to the power of Helam Davar, ain't a din sheyishu maseim l'maseh is ain't a din that the power of Yom Kippur should be like the power of Helam Davar. Ela matam alayim l'par, right? Right? Ella, what does Rabbi Shmuel say? What does the part? What does the part mean? Zepar Helam Davar Shel Tzibur. Lepar Zepar Kohen Mashiach. The Gemara is going to go back and ask, what are you teaching me? Par is Par Kohen Mashiach Helam Davar. That's written in the parsha. It's Vayikra Dalet Chof. That is the parsha of Helam Davar. You don't need a limud for it. It does. Okay, we'll get back to that Bez Hashem tomorrow. But right now, we're going back to explain why, according to Rabbi Shmuel, you don't need par the limud of par of Yom Kippur to teach me from the Kekish to Helam Davar, because I know that from Kal V'chomer. And again, what's the Kal V'chomer? Just like by Helam Davar, you have the halacha of Es Dam Taval, Hu Adin, by Yom Kippur, you can have the same limud. Now, Amamar, Uma b'makam shlei hushvu carbon l'carbon, that was the beginning of they weren't equal, meaning they're not the same species. My lei hushvu carbon l'carbon, what's referring to that they're not the same species? Ilema par Yom Kippur, v'sei Yom Kippurim, that the par is Yom Kippur and the Seir is Yom Kippur. And nonetheless, their Maisim are the same. So Ma'adach, the par, and the Seir, which are two different species, the Maisim are the same. Certainly the par Helam Dover and the par Yom Kippurim, which are the same species, Ein Oidin, it should be the same, and therefore you learn a Yom Kippur to Es B'dam B'taval. Says the Gemara, you have a kasha in that Kal V'chomer. What's the kasha? Ikul nefrich ma'ale hanach shekain nichtas damim l'fnei l'fnim. You know why? They're different. But you know why they're the same? They're the same because they go nichlas dama l'fayil ofnim. Mashen came par Yom Kippur. That goes inside, but Helam Davar doesn't go inside. So therefore, I would not be able to learn out Yom Kippur from par Yom Kippur from Helam Davar. Ella, what does shloi hushu? What does it mean? Ella par Helam Davar shel tzibur, which is obviously a par. Usiri avodas kachavim, the seir avodas zara. And the seir, again, if there's a special carbon that if you do avodas zara, you're going to bring not a par, you're going to be a seir. The par that you bring is the noila. Here you're going to bring a seir. So they're two different species, yet their meisim are the same. You spritz in front of you spritz 7 times in front of the preiches, you put 4 times on the orin, so therefore they're the same. So ma'adach, where they're two different species, the par of Helam Dover and the seir of avodah zara, they're the same. Even though the two species that avodah is the same, certainly where the species are the same, par Helam Dover to par Yom Kippur, ein idin that should be the same. Says Ma'ikol Mifrich, Mala Hanach, both avodah zara and Helam Dover, shecame mechapim al averos mitzvah yidua. Avodah zara is a mitzvah yidua. You know what you did. Helam Dover, you had a psak from Bezdin on a certain mitzvah you did, a certain avera you did, right? So you know exactly what you were over. Yom Kippur, the power of Yom Kippur is brought for Tumas Mikdash Kedasa. You had no yediyah. You knew initially you were Tameh, and you forgot, and you never remembered again. So therefore, you don't have a yediyah about the Avera. So maybe there it's not the same. So it's a kasha on your kal v'chomer. So Rabbi Yishmael, you don't have a kal v'chomer to teach me that what to be able to learn that par Yom Kippur from par helam dava tlinyan es v'dam v'tava. Ella par helam dava shel tzibur useir shel Yom Kippurim. Okay, I'm going to learn out par. I'm going to learn the seir of Yom Kippur and helam dava. They're two different species, but the avodah is the same. V'hachi kamar uma b'makom shloi hushvu carbon the carbon. This par helam dava of the sibur, which is a par, and the seir of Yom Kippur, which is what a seir, the high par, the high seir, hushvu maseim lemasim le'inyan, whatever is written. Good. There's no lufnai lufnim by par helam dava, but whatever is written is the same, right? I'm going to do 8. Good. I'm going to do 8, but the 7 is the 7. It's the same. That's what it means. That's written it. Makom shehushu carbon the carbon, the par of Yom Kippur to the par of helam davar, the high par, ein din amid aleph shehushvu maisim lemaisim, that the par that the Indian the paroiches and the Indian matan dam on the mizbeach should be the same. So says the Gemara, says Bishmael, you're learning out, right? You're learning out from par Yom Kippur, from the hekish to helam davar, because it says lepar. And I'm going to learn out there the halachas are the same, including the halacha es v'dam taval. Says Rabbi Shmuel, I got a kal v'chaymer. Ma'adach the par of Yom Kippur and the seir of ma'adach the par of Yom Kippur and the par helam davar and the seir of Yom Kippur, the par helam davar and the seir of Yom Kippur. They're two different species, but regarding what's written by one is included the other. In other words, the par of helam davar is 7, and the Yom Kippur the seir is also 7. And even though they're different, you learn out one from the other. And es v'dam v'taval, in a place where the same par helam davar and par Yom Kippur ein din that they should be the same. And Mamela, I don't need par Yom Kippur to teach me that. So what do I need it for, right? Ella, what do I need it for? We'll see Bez Hashem. Okay. So who's the for us to lay par Yom Kippur le es v'dam v'taval mi par koyin Mashiach. For us to lay seir Yom Kippur mi seir by this kechav mi kal v'chomer. Okay, if you look at Rashi over here. V'yasa le'seir Yom Kippur nami la'es v'dam v'tfila misira avodas kechavim b'kal v'chaymer. You can learn out from the kal v'chaymer. Ma b'mokim shlei hushvu carbon l'carbon. The parhel v'seir Yom Kippur. The parhel and dav v'seir Yom Kippur. Hushvu maisim. They're the same in es v'dam v'tabal hamfuvashim shneihem shlei shina b'ferish b'perish avodas hishrus ahem kigoyin azod dehechel. Makam shehushvu carbon l'carbon, ki going seir Yom Kippur, the seir avodas kechavim, in a place where they're equal, like the seir Yom Kippur, the seir avodas kechavim, ein adin sheyishrush maisim l'maisim, the yom musasim and amafurish seir Yom Kippur may seir avodas kechavim. I learn at seir Yom Kippur where you don't know from seir avodas kechavim. The fregdamar v'chidav alavim behekesh seir avodas kechavim. You didn't learn from dam tefila, only behekesh that the par kaim Mashiach. Now you want to learn out from par it's that es v'dam b'taval you're learning out from avodas zarah from par karin Mashiach. Now you want to go ahead and learn out from seir avodas kechavim to seir Yom Kippur. How can you do that? Davar lovim behekesh. We have a din in kachim. Something that learn out of hekesh. You can't be chayes of lovim behekesh. Says the Gemara. So how's that possible? V'chov v'davar behekesh seir Yom Kippur from karin Mashiach. Chayzim lamed b'kal v'choyme. You can learn b'kal chayzim lamed, not chayzim lamed hekesh. Chayzim lamed b'kal v'choyme. Right. This is a boldly mood that we had. Bez Hashem, we had already because we learned it already, but we haven't in the Esim Mekoyman. Umalami b'kal v'choymes. How could you learn how to b'kal v'choyme to what to par seir Yom Kippur? Amar Papa k'sabat hana Rabbi Yishmael. The Yeshiva Rabbi Yishmael learns davar behekesh chayzam lami behekesh. Okay, so right now we have a limit according to Rabbi Yishmael. You don't need the hekesh of par of Yom Kippur. That pari says that means it's helam dava. We're going to ask tomorrow if it's helam dava. That is speaking helam dava. What do you mean par helam dava? Does it does? We're going to ask that tomorrow. But lemaskana we have a machloikis like Papa and the limit in the Baisa we had one right from Rabbi like Papa that anything we learn out from helam dava we're going to learn out to Yom Kippur the par of Yom Kippur. And Rabbi Shmuel is saying no, I can learn it from a kal v'chomer. What's the kal v'chomer? Kal v'chomer is madach, where they're not equal. You have the par helam davar to the seir of Yom Kippur. They're not equal. They're both two different animals. Yet they're equal in the maisim. Par helam davar to par of Yom Kippur ain't a din. They should be equal. And then we're going to learn out the Seir of Yom Kippur from the Seir what of from the Seir of Yom Kippur from the Seirim of Avodah Zarah. I Sim Avodah Zarah. We learn out what from a Hekesh to the Kohen Mashiach. Davar Lani the Hekesh Chaz Malame B'Kal V'Chomer. And the only question we have right now is, so if Rabbi Yishmael has a Kal V'Chomer to teach me the din of Es V'Dam V'Tabal and the Hazor, what does he do with the limit of par from Mad in the parsha of Helam Dava that we use for Yom Kippur, and he's using from Helam Dava? What exactly does that mean? Thank you for listening.